Alright, hello and welcome. So, a question I get asked a lot is, why is Rhino not a starter, and should Rhino be a starter? And there are a lot of possibly unintentional reasons why Rhino isn't a starter. And there's a lot of things that Rhino not being a starter can very easily teach a new player, so I want to go over those things. And by teach a new player, I kind of mean indirectly, and will more likely make a new player ask questions and then get answers, because the community in Warframe is pretty nice. So let's start from the star chart. So you start out and you'll have Mercury, and the first thing you're doing as a new player is you're going through and you need to defeat Captain Vor. That's the setup. It's very on rails at the beginning. Getting your modules for your ship, kill Captain Vor, get rid of the Ascaris device. Very straightforward. The question is, after that, what does a new player do? And because you get the Venus segment from Captain Vor, it's very logical that a new player would come to Venus. And it's also, with the way the community is right now, it's very likely that a new player would be suggested Rhino, as he is very, very good for new players. So, second place they might go, Venus. Head to Fossa, kill the Jackal. They kill the Jackal, they get the parts for Rhino. This is their next boss fight. They're going through the star chart. They've learned all those things because of that. And when you get Rhino, there's actually some very important things about acquiring Rhino. So the first is that you have to learn how to build a Warframe, which is, you come to the, come over here, Warframe stuff. Rhino, I have regular Rhino parts, I do. Then you see these things, and then collecting materials is kind of not really a needed tutorial, but they're blueprints. You get the blueprints, you can build the thing. But beyond that, Rhino is mastery locked to MR2. So a new player is usually not going to be MR2 by the time they've killed the Jackal. So if they're still MR0 and just have no idea, they had no idea that MR was even a thing, because it's kind of hidden, because you have to go up here and take your test from this menu, which is a little bit strange, and I can see why players would miss that. So by being like, what the fuck is mastery rank, they'll probably get an answer, and then now they know what mastery rank is. And the reason that they would go to get Rhino is because Rhino is very easy to use. He works on literally no mods. He's just a very simple, good Warframe that is a really good early game goal for players. So, for those of you that are earlier players, I have some stuff to show you. So, my regular Rhino is formatted. It was the first Warframe I ever formatted out. But this is a build that you guys can shoot for if you're a newer player. And this build works pretty fucking well, honestly. I could clear the entire star chart with just this and some guns. Actually incredibly easily. It's worth noting that this up here is an aura slot for those of you that are new. Auras come in a large variety of things. They come from alerts, which you will see on the star chart, and you can just slot those in, and those give you more points over here to use for modding purposes. Also, the reason I'm only using 30 of my 60 points is because if you're a new player, the thing that gives you the 60 points on your Warframe is a Roken reactor, which will come from alerts and such, or you can buy them from the market. So this is a no reactor build. Just shoot for this, and this will work for you very well, I hope. Otherwise, some early game suggestions. The Karak, shooting for a build that looks kind of like this. Get as close to this as you can. You're not going to have a maxed out Serration. Get it to maybe rank 4 or 6-ish, and you'll be fine. Lex is what I suggest to all new players. Get close as you can to this. You're not going to have a maxed Hornet Strike, and that's fine. And then the Galatine is a good weapon to pair with Rhino, I think, and get as close as you can to this, and you should be fine. Those are just some good, early-ish builds. For those of you that are just starting out, maybe you just grab Rhino, looking for some weapons to start out with. These are some very, very easy to acquire weapons. They have incredibly low resource costs, which is the Karak and the Galatine, for what you're getting from them, and the Lex only costs credits, so you should get this pretty much right away, is what I would suggest. Before you even have Rhino, if you can. And then in general, Rhino is a very low-cost Warframe as well. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit of a rambling breakdown of why Rhino isn't a starter is he's a really good early game goal for new players. He's suggested all the time, and if you just started as Rhino, that like Venus would be way less important. Also, he's locked to MR2, so you learn about MR. Like, there's all these things that I feel like they come together in a way with like how the community acts and feels about Rhino in general, from what I've seen, of course, that making him a starter would remove a lot of the like organic teaching from the game, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's why Rhino's not a starter in my eyes. He should not be a starter, because that, I think, would remove something from the game that is quite important. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.